Music matters. You clapped my clap.
Yeah, man.
The Mulherin brothers, how you guys doing?
Doing good, man.
Doing great.
Hell yeah. How you doing today? What you been up to?
What were we doing today? We were
prepping for this tour.
Yeah, we're doing a little tour with our friend starting next week. And yeah, so we were just kind of like prepping some stuff for that, going up, because we're like opening and also playing as his band.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like
a doubling up situation.
Yeah. So we've like been getting our set together, but also like learning an hour of music of like his stuff.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Jesus, who's it you're touring with again?
This guy Austin.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So that's an exciting time in your guys' world. You have putting out music for the first time in a long time. Got the tour coming up.
Yeah.
What have like the overwhelming emotions of the past couple like months been? Because I know you guys like put out music just recently after not putting out music for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
Has it felt more exciting or has it been anxiety provoking? Like, what have the overwhelming emotions been?
All of that.
Yeah, all the above.
All of it.
Yeah.
No, it's been interesting though, because we've definitely the past couple years have shifted way more into like the publishing space of like being a writer and producer for other people. And yeah, we just kind of weren't really focusing on our music as much, and it just kind of like happened where Austin, we had like done a few sessions with Austin, kind of like co-writing and stuff and co-producing, and then he was
just like hit it off though.
Yeah, and he was just like a great dude, and we're just like friends now. And he was just like, yeah, would y'all want to like go on tour and open and like be in my band? And we were just kind of like, damn.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we better put some of this old music out then. Like, it's just kind of songs that have been like almost done for like a while. Yeah. And just kind of like being like, okay, let's actually do this thing now for a second. And like shift the focus from just like doing writing and producing sessions and like buckle down for a second.
That's like a super selfless mindset to have. I feel like there's a lot of musicians that really struggle with not being the face of something. I think it's really, really admirable to be able to like take a step back and exist in both those pockets, right?
Totally.
Like, do you think, writing or producing for somebody else, does it scratch the same itch or a different itch as doing your own stuff?
I say a different one. It's cool though. It's like, I don't think it's for everyone for sure, but I think like I just always wanted to like make music. And if you enjoy like the social part of music and meeting new people, I think sessions can be a really interesting and fun learning experience. Just going like, cool, I'm gonna do like, they're like people always call it speed dating.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, they call it like, there's like, if you're like first like get a manager or a publishing deal, you go through like the speed dating phase where like you get set up in like 5 sessions a week with different people for like a few months. Yeah. And that can be like a really exhausting, like kind of overwhelming experience.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like also a social game and a music game at that point.
Yeah. And so, but then it can also just be like an incredible learning experience and just give you so many new perspectives on making music, I think. Yeah. And it's been very helpful for both of us, I think.
Yeah, and I think too, when you're making music, you always kind of end up obviously making maybe like 80% of the stuff that you're making, 90% of the stuff you make never sees the light of day. It's like, oh, this is cool, but this isn't really what I want to make right now, or this isn't like the path I want to take. So then to be able to produce and write for other people where it's like, okay, this isn't like for me, this isn't like my vision for myself as an artist, but like I love making this, like I have fun making this, and to be able to bring that to other rooms with other people and like kind of explore these other avenues of like what you enjoy making and like finding out that you like making other types of things and what like you would do for your artist project,
like things you would never stumble into, like if you're just doing your own
fully
stuff.
Explore. It's like, okay, I've tapped on this, I don't really want to make that, but then to be able to be in a room with somebody who's like, oh, that was actually sick, and like, let's keep doing it. I don't know, like
it's got to be such like a different hat as well, because I would assume when you're like the front facing part of an artist project, everything that you do is a part of your brand. Every song you put out, every post you make, every show you play, it all becomes part of
every
like
guitar tone, drum sound, like and I think that becomes, it can get to a point where that is like kind of tiring, and so it's kind of nice to just step into a different role and just be like, we can all just hang out and have like a fun afternoon together and make a song, and it's like not that deep, you know what I mean? And Yeah, it's been really nice, man. It's been really nice, honestly.
Do you feel like there's less pressure when you're working with somebody else because it's not like always gonna fully reflect on you, at least in the facing thing? Not to say that you would ever do a bad job for somebody else, but
yeah.
just to say that like it's kind of a different game you're playing.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Definitely. I feel like there's just not the same pressure you put on yourself to be like, okay, where does this fit into like, I mean, this is shit that I'll be thinking about, like, that can like halt you, but of like, is this fitting the narrative of where my artistry is going? Does this make sense? Like, as you're trying to write like the first verse of something, it's like, I don't know, like you can so like shut yourself down easily, I feel like, when you're only doing your thing and you're like in that world and in only, your room by yourself writing a song, and you're like, what life experience am I going to pull from? And it's like, I think it can be a great way to make music, and sometimes it can be like counterproductive sometimes to just like be constantly halting yourself. Like I felt like I would do that, so to be able to go in with other people and like you kind of just get the permission to do like anything and like try it, and if it works and they like it, then you can keep exploring it and you can like bounce ideas off of each other. It can be great. And
I think you're curating such a different skill set too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the artist Estelle Allen, but we had her on the show a couple weeks ago, and she told me the story when she was on tour playing guitar for another artist, and she went to like this producer's house because stay at the homie's house on tour or whatever. But she walked in, and this producer like could tell that she was going through something and offered her like the studio to record, to get whatever was on her mind off it. And she was just talking about how welcome this guy made her feel. Like, I think I would say this is especially true as a producer and engineer, I think the same thing can be said from a songwriting perspective. You almost have the responsibility of like curating the space, I think, sometimes, opposed to where if you're kind of the artist who's in the space. It's almost like then you're walking into a space that you expect to be good. But the reverse, I think, is true if you're a songwriter or a producer and engineer.
For sure.
Big time.
Yeah, it's just making people comfortable and just making it feel casual and making it feel, just like I have friends where it's like you go to a session and it's always like, yo, like espresso? Like, you want espresso?
Yeah.
And like, they have a machine and they'll like make it, and it's like just that vibe of like, I think it's always the best when it just feels like, yeah, we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah.
When whatever happens versus some people I think don't have that same mindset of curating that energy in a session, and more like literally people being like, listen, man, I'm trying to make a hit today. And then it's like, cool, this is like stakes raised. Just trying to keep like low stakes. Like if we write something we like, cool. If we get like one verse we like, cool. If we get a hook, if we get nothing. Yeah. If we get chords, like trying to keep it that energy.
Just like whatever comes out.
And trying to like approach your own thing in that way too is like, I think there's a lot that like I've taken and that we've both taken from this, that I'm excited to try and like kind of re-dive into the artist thing more with the things that we've learned in terms of that, of just like setting that like more accepting energy and be like, I should give myself that energy.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I think it's I mean, this is true for music, but also just for life in general. I think it's sometimes way easier to give others slack than it is yourself.
For sure, yeah.
I think it can be way harder, especially in the music space, right? Where like the reality is like our job, like in music, it's I love it. I'm not trying to like demean it, but we're not doing heart surgery. Like we're doing something that's very extra to the world. Like we're adding something that I think can help a lot of people. But at the end of the day, like we're not a teacher, we're not a doctor. Yeah. So I think if you kind of approach music with the mindset where you're not prioritizing the fun in it, you're not prioritizing like what you enjoy, you're kind of sucking out all the like the purpose, like the point of like doing something like this that's creative and beautiful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's like very easy to get jaded, I think.
Oh yeah.
And that's been like I've tried to be very conscious about that in the last couple of years, to like just like if you are like just keep the perspective of like, if you are able to make a living doing this, like that is such an insane blessing. Yeah. And like, I just think it's so easy to like get caught in the rat race of being like, especially in the producer world, where it's like, oh, blah, 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 I had this song, do this, and like they signed for this much, and blah, 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 this song is getting this many streams, and like just kind of coming back to man, like,
am I making something I'm excited about?
Yeah.
And it's better than like waiting tables, or like,
which we've been doing. It's just like how many shifts like what I have to work to have made like this much that I did from doing this song. It's just like, yeah, trying to like zoom out and be like thankful for like what it is, and be thankful for like, you know, I feel like I'm growing as a person or as an artist, as a producer, as a writer, and like trying to focus on those things instead of like, did I get on like X person's album? Yeah. You know?
Like, did I get this placement or that placement?
Right. Yeah. I think that's not the way to look at it. Yeah.
I feel that super heavily. I think when I quit my job, I became, like, I was really, really terrified of the notion that me working in music full time would make me like really jaded. And I think for the first couple months it might have, because like, thankfully I was working on music stuff more than I ever was before. Yeah. And you know, like that's what you would want. But simultaneously, it's almost like the desperation had a little bit of a lure to it. And not to like glamorize that, you know, that struggle, but there was an element of like, I think there's two sides of it, but like I worked I guess Thursday through Sunday, serving tables when I first moved here. And that means I pretty much only had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to fully work on Above the Bridge stuff. So it's like I was jamming the amount of work into 3 days that normally would probably be in a week. And that wasn't healthy, but I found that it kind of created this desperation that I think sometimes I wish I could tap into a bit more, you know?
Oh, yeah. Giving yourself, like, any kind of, like, deadline or, like, restricting your amount of time where it's like, okay, I have to get this done in this amount of time, instead of being like, yeah, I got all week to do this. Like, that usually ends up not working out if you just have, like, no structure for yourself. Even when it's imposed on you, and that's kind of the nice thing when you like, you know, you have a manager or somebody else who can like help push you along and be like, do you want to do this like session with this person, and someone who can like help fill your calendar. Like we got a manager who kind of helped us do that when we were first starting to write and produce for other people, and having like any kind of structure imposed from the outside was kind of like a nice change of pace, instead of being like fully just like us two writing, producing everything, mixing it, doing the album art, and being like, all right, when should we finish this? Like, does anybody else like this? Like, so to have like that outside person to kind of like help give you structure in the same way that even like you having a job and then having the structure of like, okay, I only have these days to work on it, and having to plan around that, it can be very helpful.
I feel that, and it's strange because when you're a 9-to-5 working musician like who has another job too, it's kind of like you get in this place where all you're trying, at least this is how I felt when I was working a normal job, like I was just trying to escape that, and I was trying to like leave that structure behind, only to eventually be able to do that and then realize maybe those 9-to-5 guys got something right, like just in the structure of it. Like in the past couple months I've implemented like a pretty strict like 9-to-5 work day for my music stuff, and it is, it was like life changing. Really? It just gives you so much more structure. And also like I've really made an effort to not like if it's after 5 or 6, like I'm not answering emails, I'm not really probably not answering texts. Like I try really hard to like stop at 6, I think. And like just mentally it's helped me so much.
Oh, totally. No, I think it's funny, like with certain, I feel like more veteran like writers or producers, like people are like, cool, I have a hard out at 7, so
that's cool.
Like it's like, let's get in, like we'll hang and like do this, but like at 7 I'm gonna go have dinner with my girlfriend or like whatever, like, or my wife. Awesome. Like, and it's cool, seeing people where it's like, even though I love this, like it's still like a part, it's not my whole life, you know.
Dude,
and it's healthy.
I feel like I referenced this in so many interviews, but I was hanging out with Tim Chin one time for Making Music, who I think you guys know, but I was talking to him one time, and he said this thing to me that really stuck with me, where I was asking him about kind of the same thing, like longevity in this, because he's done this like forever. And I was like, how do you like not get jaded? How do you kind of like remain, you know, level-headed? And he looked at me and he was like, what do you do outside of music? And I was like, nothing. I was like, outside of Above the Bridge, I like play music for fun, or like I think about music, or like I do whatever. But it took me a while, I think, when I first moved here to find things that I was doing outside of music. I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like my girlfriend says this all the time, and she's not in music at all, but she always talks about how like the music industry is weird because like your friendships are often intertwined with your business, and a lot of times there's like a big structure or a big divide there. So it's like, you know, a lot of the times the same people you're writing with, or you're hanging out, or you're working with, or whatever, you're going to dinner with, or hooping with, or doing whatever. Right. You know what I mean? But I think that divide is very, very valuable.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and I think having an identity outside of like your musical ability, and just having a perspective on the world in general, and like being curious.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's been like my thing. I feel like the last couple of years I've been just like the secret sauce, I feel like, to just like being a satisfied individual and like content in life is like remaining curious and having like a sense of wonder about the world in general.
That's so true.
And like, so it's just always keeping that. You know, and like, yeah, like if you have like a new session that day, maybe you're like, fuck, I don't feel like doing this today, but just being like, what is this person's story? Like, what's their, like, where are they from? What are they like? And like, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
It's like the mystery of it. Like waking up every single day. The way that I kind of like to think about it is like waking up every single day and like your day is a quest. Like, what can I find in here that I might not have found if I didn't do this thing today?
Exactly.
I think I feel so lucky, especially with the interviewing part of what I do, because it's like every single person I sit down with has such a different story. Like there isn't, there's common links, but like 95% of the time the stories are not comparable like at all, which is a really exciting thing, because it's like I can sit down for this and I'm like, what will I dig up that I didn't know about this person, or what will I learn, about my own experience? It's so fun, man.
Yeah, how it's like there's been 137 different webs that started in like completely different places that converge through this garage and then keep going.
Yeah, it's like a really, I love the idea of it.
Yeah.
And it's so cool sometimes too to see the links between musicians I've talked to, and like how like they'll meet, like all interviews. There's people who I've interviewed like years and years ago who I've like found out through the years, like know folks that I've interviewed more recently. Yeah. And that's been a really, really cool concept to understand, is like that web and how small this music industry is too. Oh, yeah. As like, you guys have gotten more into the publishing side of things and like being on the writing side, have you had experiences where you realized just how small this music industry is and how connected everything is?
For sure. I mean, it's like every time, like, if it's like a somewhat like established producer or writer or anything, and our manager's like, oh yeah, you want to do a session with blah blah blah, and like I'll like look at their Instagram and it's like 50 mutual followers. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like every time without fail. Or like just like, I'm like in the habit now of like looking when something comes out, like, and you just look at, it's like not really that many people that are working on all of these things. Yeah. When you start like looking at names on things, you're just like, oh yeah, it's like that dude again.
Yeah.
And
that guy did
like,
this and that.
Yeah. And then if you see like a name you don't recognize and you kind of look into them more, you're like, oh, they know blah 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 blah. Like, it's interesting.
I feel that way about filmmakers too. Like I feel that way about music video directors. Like I'll find a video that I really love and I'm like, oh, like they were, he
was a PA for,
exactly. Like he might have produced on this set, or he might have did this. That is a really fun web too. That kind of exists adjacently to the music one.
Totally.
Like I was playing basketball last night just at the park, and I came with a friend of mine, and we pulled up, and there were like 5 other homies that we just knew from music shit, just there. I mean, like just close friends, and like we knew that we played at the same park, but we didn't plan it. We just were having to see him. Yeah. And there was a guy there who I was talking to, and I had like an hour-long conversation with him. It's and I didn't realize that like I was a huge fan of his work. He shoots all the My Name Isn't J-Mac visuals, and crazy. Like I was just playing basketball with this guy, and I was like, I had no idea that like I've seen so many of your videos. It's so small, dude. It's crazy.
It's insane.
No, it's even funny. Like y'all interviewed Ari, like what was that, a couple months ago? I guess, and like. We've known of Ari since like 2018 because he covered one of our songs.
Wow.
In like 2018, like he was the first person to ever cover like a Mulherin song.
That's
in 2018.
So cool,
he was
dude.
like 16 or something.
That's so nice.
And and
that
he
guy's
like
so talented.
Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah, and just like, and so like I've like known who he was since then, and then we kind of like over the years like talked more and more online, and then he moved here a few years ago, and like we linked up around then.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny how that, like how the webs intersect.
Converge.
Yeah. Like I didn't know this till we became friends, but he's from San Jose, which I didn't know. What'd you say? Mountain View. Sorry, not same. Southern
adjacent
Southern Bay Area.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Actually, but no. Yeah. That was really weird too to understand that like he's from a very similar place to where I grew up, but like there's no reason why we would have ever like found each other.
Because then he went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, exactly. I found Ari's music because I worked with this company called Live 2, and we used to do this thing where like we'd like stream music pretty much and just like live stream it and just like respond to submissions and stuff. And Ari had submitted to like that stream, so we listened to his music on stream. And me and Mario, I remember just sitting here like mind blown. We're like, who the fuck is this? And then like we went so deep into the hardcore Paloma rabbit hole. They got us.
No, I'm like surprised they're not like already bigger.
They will be for sure.
You know what I mean? It's like it's definitely gonna happen at some point, but. they have such. I really admire the way they just do their thing, and they're like all involved with each other and like push each other, and they all play with each other live or like co-produce on each other's things. It's so sick. Vibe. Yeah, I love that.
The community thing is huge. I mean, that's so inspiring to me, because that's so much of what I want to do with Above the Bridge. It's just like grow this massive community. So like seeing something like that, where I'm like, all these dudes, they're not only are they like coworkers, but they're like really, really close friends.
Yeah.
Which is like such a beautiful thing. When you guys moved out here from Memphis, how long do you think it took you to kind of start to build a bit of a musical community around you, and how did you kind of start to extend those hands?
I feel like it started because we moved out here with our friend Zach Villery. And like, cause
I love his stuff. He's great.
Oh yeah, he's great. And we went to college together, and he was like super, he kind of had a wave on SoundCloud already, and like knew a lot of people over Twitter and SoundCloud. And so we moved out here with him, and kind of just ended up like, because we kind of lived together for the first few months when we moved to LA.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally, like the three of us split a room.
Yeah.
Three in a room?
Yeah.
Damn,
like
that's
3 air
crazy.
mattresses in a room.
Rent was cheap as hell.
Oh yeah, it was real cheap. We're probably
Yeah.
like 300 or something. Yeah.
It happened. I was gonna say I've never met anybody who lived in LA with cheaper rent than me, and me and Mario split a room, so it's very cheap.
We had three.
Okay,
so
that's
it was like
crazy.
even cheaper.
Maybe we should have a
and
third,
our manager,
Mario.
I feel like, was kind of hooking it up.
Yeah.
But like she was, and shout out to her. Her name is
Shout
Joey.
out. Shout out
but
Joey.
she had like an open room in her apartment, and she was just like, yeah, y'all can move in.
Fuck it, yeah.
And we were there for like a minute, and like met a lot of people with Zach, and so it honestly happened pretty quickly.
And there a lot of our other friends from college also moved out here.
Yeah, true.
Like our friend Kyle Chase moved out here, and then like a
Aria,
few other we had like a whole squad of people that was like kind of based around our college friends, and then we all kind of like formed a community with these other people that like through music out here, and it was within the first year we kind of had like a little squad.
That's beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like LA, when you have that group of people, and LA when you don't have that group of people, are two fully different
Very different.
experiences.
Yeah, I mean anywhere in life. Like it's just
true.
It's just like the people who are in your life day to day. Like who are your like interactions with?
Yeah. That's always been a weird concept to me. I feel like there's all these weird misconceptions about LA. It's like, oh, people are fake, people are this, people are that. I think this city, and I think this is true for any big city you move to, but like this city is literally just who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
If you're around good people, it feels really good. If you're not, it feels bad.
No, and I say it to people all the time, where it's like, you can say whatever about, I mean, because it is like, it's, being the center of like the entertainment industry in general, arguably worldwide, is like gonna attract a lot of interesting people.
Oh yeah.
But it also, there's like such a crazy diverse creative community here.
Yeah.
That if you can find your people, it can be like such a cool, inspiring place to be.
Yeah.
And
I do think there's something here for, I think if you're in music, there's something here for you.
Yeah.
You might just it might take longer to find it.
Right.
Like I feel like the first year that I was here, I didn't really find it. And then I think the second year that I've been here, I found it way, way, way more.
When did you move here?
October of last year, so it will be 2 years in October.
Okay, got you.
Which is crazy to think about, because it feels like it's been 2 months.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. How about you guys? When did you first move here?
2017.
Okay, so you've been here for a minute.
Been here for
a long time.
Yeah.
Have you like the scene of people like around you, and just like the scene in LA in general? Have you felt like it's changed since you've been here? Because I guess you guys were kind of pre-TikTok era, right? Like,
for sure.
I'm sure LA changed a bunch post that era.
Yeah, like I guess like I'm trying to think. I like it was because it was kind of post blog too.
Yeah.
Because it was like when
Weird
we were in
era.
college, it was like blog era. Like because we graduated college in 2016, so it was like our college experience was like prime SoundCloud like blog era.
Yeah.
Which was sick. Like SoundCloud era was so cool because it was just so like
you could more democratized in a way.
Yeah.
It was just like like everyone can repost each other's things, and it was almost more social media like in that way.
So cool, dude.
Yeah, like Zach built like crazy community and like met so many good friends
just on
through
SoundCloud.
Yeah,
that's so cool. There's kind of nothing like that.
It's not really the same now, and there was something about it. I mean, I'm really glad though that it shifted to like Spotify more, because you can actually make money from plays.
Yeah,
where it's like, if you're getting 100 million plays on SoundCloud, it's just like,
good job,
cool, man, like good work.
Which is like low key crazy, because like we talk about just how much Spotify takes advantage of folks, and they do, but to think about the fact that you made no money on SoundCloud is wild.
$0.
Like if Zach, like you were talking about, had 100 million streams on SoundCloud, he was making them like a lot of money.
Right.
He was seeing none of it.
Yeah. Right.
That's crazy. That's like the NIL deal in college.
It really is.
Yeah, right.
That's
it really is
wild, bro.
No, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, so it was like that. I feel like when we first moved here, it was kind of like post blogs, but like still sort of SoundCloud. Like I can't even think of really what the vibe.
Kinda.
It was like I think it was the beginning of like playlisting really being like a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that was always like, you know, meeting with distributors, that was always the pitch, is like, oh, like we have like a whole playlisting team,
incredible playlist support.
Yeah. And now it's funny kind of seeing that even not matter as much.
Yeah.
Sort of. You know? And I think it took a couple of years and people started realizing like, oh, this is kind of not a bubble, but you can't like rely on it as much as you think you can.
Oh, for sure, dude.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Lorem is not going to build your career for you.
100%.
Lorem will not save
Pollen
you.
is not going to save you, man.
Fresh Finds will not save you.
Will not save you.
Dude,
How many people have name dropped Athena from Fresh Finds, man? She was like the one who curated it.
I hear the Lizzie Zabo drop a bunch on the podcast.
Too, yeah.
I actually don't think I've ever gotten the Athena drop.
That was more that
was more
era.
a different time.
So she was like the Lizzie Zabo of that time.
Gotcha.
Is that how you say it, Zabo?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Shout out to Lizzie.
I just know the lore. Shout out to Lizzie.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I feel like it's a very interesting time, and I think like me and Andrew were just talking about this the other day, but like I feel like the live side is more important than it's not ever has been, but has been in a long time. Because I think you're right when you talk about like playlisting specifically. Like you're right, Lorem's not going to break you anymore. I think those tools are really good at adding fuel to pre-existing fires.
Yeah.
But I think on the label side, a lot of A&Rs and a lot of like people with labels have a pretty easy time pitching them as things that will begin the fire. But I can't really think of many artists where I'm like, the fire has started with big playlist support.
Right.
And that's why I feel like the live side is just, right now, it's probably more important than it's been in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it is one of the only things I think that like, if you can consistently put on an amazing live show, you're not only like gaining, it's kind of like the difference between gaining followers and fans.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like on TikTok, if you have like 4 TikToks go viral, you can gain 100 million followers but no fans.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you play an incredible live set, you're gonna make an impact on all those people. It's kind of like the opposite of the saturation. You know, the internet just becomes so wildly saturated that I feel like the live side stands out more than ever.
Totally. I think when we did the tour, we toured like right before the pandemic, like buzzer beater. Like
a month before, like
March
February
8th was the last show or something. 2020.
That's like right before.
It was like the week before, but it was so palpable, the feeling of getting fans where like, you know, you go in front of like, you know, however many 100 people who like most of them don't know your music, and if you put on a good show, people are so hype, and like they didn't know you before the show, but now they want a picture with you and they follow you
and they'll buy your merch,
and they'll buy your merch, and they go like, they're shouting you out because like, oh, I saw them. Like they'll comment on something like, saw you guys in this thing, like saw you guys in Portland.
The engagement, like I even just like the like Instagram engagement, like 1 month apart, it was like double damn near. Or it was like going from getting like you know, we would get like 400 or 500 likes on stuff, and then like after tour we were getting like 1,300, 1,200, and like just like kind of seeing it every night and feeling like, wow, like this is real people who are like, you know, and then that's part of kind of their life for like, especially like some kids would come and be like, God, this was like the first concert I've been to.
Oh, that's so cool, dude.
And like, you know, and yeah, it's so interesting how much, I really do agree with that though, that like the live thing can be such a like, it can really move the needle for sure.
Yeah, I think way more than the digital side, honestly.
Yeah.
I always say
it's like literally you.
Yeah, exactly, which is so different, dude. Yeah. And I think it's actually more gratifying too, because I think if you play the internet game and only the internet game, sometimes you can get into this habit of feeling, I mean, I'm certainly a victim to this, but like just feeling like you're throwing shit into the void.
Yeah.
And you're never connecting a face, you're never meeting people, you're never shaking hands, you're never like seeing the fruits of your labor in a way. But I think when you go out on the road especially, you're seeing it more than ever. What was that first tour like you guys did? When was that? What was that tour?
That was February 2020 with Zach, with Zach Villery. It was, he put Cardboard City out. We put out this project called Blurry, and he put out Cardboard City like 2 weeks into the tour because he didn't turn it in on time. But it was like super bootstrapped, like we were in like a van, you know.
Oh, it was fire though.
It was super fun.
It was like fun. Our friend Kyle Chase like kind of tour managed and like
Alex, our friend Alex Zotak played with Zach. It was just 5 of us though.
And then like me and Kyle would switch off driving, and we were like just driving the van. We had like a 10 passenger with like the back 2 seats out, loaded it up with like all of our gear, all of our merch, and all of our luggage. And just like every night, you know, after every show, we would like get to the hotel and kind of have to like unload the most valuable things because it's just sitting in a parking lot.
Like somebody could take this.
It was like, it was a grind, but it was so fun, man. And that was, I think now thinking back on the feeling of being like in front of people.
Yeah.
And really having like that sensation of like, oh man, I'm like, here are the people, here are like fans.
Yeah.
And even if they're new fans by the end of your set, like it's such a palpable thing, and it gets you like excited to make music and excited to like get back on stage for the next show or whatever. And like I'm excited to feel that again. It's been a while.
And it's like you almost, I would imagine, feel like not you owe these people something, but like you want to put on a good show.
You want to put on a good show, especially like, once you put a good one on and you're like, dude, that was fire.
Yeah. Fun. Especially when like you were that kid in the crowd, like growing up, you know. I think most people get to that point, definitely grew up doing the exact same thing. And that is just like always such a crazy thing to acknowledge. Like there's things I'm doing right now that I'm so grateful for, but like I'll think about it and I'll be like, damn, like 16-year-old me would have passed out if I saw that I was able to do this.
Right.
And I think reminding yourself of that can keep you very grounded. Like always remaining that place of just grateful.
Totally.
Do you guys look back at that first tour as like a thing that taught you a lot? Do you look back at it as like it was just tough times? Like what do you think you learned from that first time? I guess just those other times in general on the road. Like
that was the only tour we've ever done.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that tour that you're bringing into this next tour that you guys are leaving for in like what, like a week?
Yeah, literally a week from Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think just feeling prepared, you know, like don't like be over prepared.
Yeah.
Because like going into a show and feeling like, okay, I'm ready for this, like I'm about to kill this, is a really great feeling. Going in and feeling like
maybe hesitant about a guitar
see what
part.
happens. It's like
could go good.
Really
yeah. No, and I think being excited about your arrangements too, like doing whatever you need to do. Like, you know, a lot of these songs, since we haven't put out new music in so long, it's like they're older songs, but trying to like make it new to you. So like, all right, I'm gonna change the arrangement up, like kind of reproduce it. Maybe you change the structure a little bit and make it like exciting for you to where like you're doing it, and even just practicing it, you're like feeling it, like, ooh, this is gonna be fire. You know, like things that just get you excited, and try and just like follow that with everything.
I think that's so key, is like always doing things that excite you opposed to the audience.
Yeah, for sure.
I think like you always got to create from a place of like, this is exciting me.
Yeah.
And I think if you get in that mindset sometimes where you're trying to maybe not pander, but just like make whatever you're making for a perceived notion of success, like for like, I think people will like this.
Yeah.
I think you can't be in that place because you're never gonna guess right. Like there's just no blanket rule. There's no chord progression that you're like, oh, everybody will love this, or there's no, you know, melody you're like, everybody will love this. I think you always got to just do what excites you the most.
100%.
Yeah, because it's like, I think when you're in a crowd, it's like you can tell when someone is into it or if they're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's always just more fun as an audience member if you're like, you can tell they're having fun too. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
That's like, I feel like just huge.
Did you guys have a lot of nerves when you used to play live? Have you kind of worked past that point? Do you still struggle with it?
Used to, for sure. Because, I mean, we started playing shows in college.
Yeah.
So we were like, I mean, first show we ever played, I guess we had like 3 songs out, maybe. I think it was like
just
fall.
Bullshit college
it was like
show.
bullshit college show, but like, so like from then, you know, like first time ever singing in front of people was at like the sound check for that show.
That's crazy.
And I was just like, there were like 2 people in the room, and I was like,
just singing on like a mic,
singing on a mic
for the first
like,
time, just being like, Jesus, dude.
Yeah. So scary.
I remember we covered Pink Matter, the Frank Ocean song, at that show.
Hilarious.
And just like the falsetto part, like, you know, like the and like just my voice cracking like so hard on the falsetto.
Yeah. But I do
like, fuck my life.
You feel like your world's gonna end in that
it was real
bad. It's
bad.
crazy.
Yeah.
But I feel like like throughout college we kind of found like certain things of like, okay, maybe we don't do like a really loud like live drummer in our show. Now I'm less nervous because I'm like, okay, I can hear myself sing different things. And then we kind of learned over the years, like, okay, like talking to the crowd also makes me less nervous, and just kind of like being a little more casual on stage to where I'm always like a little nervous before a show for sure, but you have kind of more of like, okay, I know in the past what I've done that like makes me feel better when I'm on stage. Like immediately addressing the crowd, or like immediately like looking out, immediately like not being afraid to start make a sound on the mic. It's like, this is gonna be loud when I sing, and I'm just like embracing this. But yeah, definitely a learning curve.
It's kind of like accepting your place in reality. Like almost like accepting the craziness that you're the one up there. And I think once you can get to that point, everything else definitely gets easier. It's so strange though, man, because like there's some things that I don't think we're like prepared to experience as human beings, and I think performing in front of a bunch of people was like one of them. Like in our like genetic coding, there is nothing that's like, here's how you perform in Madison Square Garden. Like I can only imagine the feeling of like being in an arena, like performing for an arena, because that's just like
there's a different disembodiment of the crowd there too. I can't imagine that either.
No, dude, it's got to be insane.
Like, but I almost feel like sometimes those bigger shows, like you can just be like, I'm just doing my thing, and like the first audience member is like 30 feet away. And like the feeling of being like in a small room on like maybe kind of a shitty PA, and like someone is literally right here, and I can like read their facial expression. There's something about that is like
almost worse.
Dude.
Nerves
like,
wise,
it's almost more nerve-wracking, because it's like, I feel like in an arena show, it's just like the tracks are so loud, and it's like
you're like removed.
So much shit is pre-recorded, and there's like all these big moments, and like you can kind of hide behind it. And like in a small club, like you can't really hide behind anything.
But, I'm sure there's the difference too, though, of being on like a huge stage and being like, I have to occupy.
You got to fill up a lot of space.
Like I'm so small.
Sure.
I got lunch with a friend yesterday, and he did a couple like opening tours in Europe for like a couple thousand people at every single one, and then right now he's like setting up his first headlining tour in the US, and he's doing like 200-300 cap rooms. And we were talking about a very similar thing yesterday, where he was saying like I get that end of the spectrum for sure, but he was saying how much solace he found in like being able to be that present in a room of like 200 people where they're locked on you. Whereas like when you're in an arena like that, you're right, there's like that much of like a bit of like space. There's a big disconnect. Where it's almost like they're watching TV.
But like, because a lot of them, they can't see you, so they have to watch the Jumbotron.
They basically are watching TV.
And I think it's like and for those kind of tours, it's like you're so rehearsed. And it's like, you know, there's so much money on the line that it's like, okay, these are the beats we're hitting. The talking point is scripted. We're saying this at this point. Like, the show is like on a time code, basically. So it's like we're pushing play on the show and like performing the show, and it's exactly like we rehearsed.
It's like a play.
Right.
Whereas like if you're playing a 200 cap room, maybe you're running your own tracks or playing with a band. It's like just a whole different experience. I would imagine you feel like you're more present. I would imagine it'd be easier to connect with each individual person in there.
No, there's like something palpable. Oh, sorry, but just like when you're in a small room and like, if you're doing like a stripped back moment of a show or something, like you stop and you hear how quiet the room is. It's just,
that's a great feeling.
Nice.
That's
really
a great
cool
feeling.
Dude, that's how I felt when I saw Ari play that first time. I don't know if you guys were at his headlining thing and Makeout. Just like how silent it was in that room when he was doing. Oh, dude, that's a feeling that I think every performer should aspire to get to, where it's just like people are encapsulated. Like you are so there with them. That's just a whole art in itself.
And I think you have to get to that point. Like when we were first performing, sometimes you feel like you have to like fill the space in a certain way. You think you have to like be bigger, or like, okay, I gotta be like my alter ego, I gotta be Sasha Fierce, man, or whatever that is. And it's like getting to the point where you realize, okay, if I'm like really secure and kind of like my thing, like what this setup is, we're being minimal, like whatever it is that gives you confidence to do like a more minimal thing, and to like bring people towards you. And if you can like draw people in like that, to where it's like, instead of you kind of like going out and trying to grab them, you're like drawing them towards you. It's like the best feeling. When that works.
I would imagine it'd be hard to like decide, do you want to like really humanize yourself so the people there feel like you're there with them, or do you want to kind of assume the role of this character that they're like seeing something in? I would imagine it's like a big battle when you guys kind of structure your life set. I guess in the week preceding this tour, what do you feel like are the biggest beats you're trying to hit like on this tour, and are they different from when you first started performing?
Yeah, I guess the songs are a little different.
Yeah, I think the music dictates it.
Gotcha.
I think the music helps dictate it to where like some of the newer music is more like drum driven and more like higher energy, so we can have kind of more moments of that versus in the past the whole show would be like more meditative.
Yeah.
And we still have those moments. But I guess now we can be a little more like dynamic to where it's like the higher moments can be higher, so now the lower moments kind of can stand out more maybe. But I think we're always on the more casual like side of it, to where we're like talking to the crowd, and like Parker's great at that too. It's just like shooting the shit and just kind of like, you know, you talk to random people. I feel like one of our best shows on the tour in 2020 was New York, and the show started like the first song we played like a kind of like me doing keys, and we reharmonized the hook of this song, and then we would like start the track that we were playing along to and kind of like go into the hook off that.
Yeah.
And we had played like the whole first verse and then like started the track, but his computer had died. And so we like, but it ended up being great because like we just like made a joke out of it. And there's like, you know, 200, 300 people there.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just like fucking around, and it just like immediately drops like your guard and it drops the crowd's guard.
Yeah.
Because the crowd also, like, people be nervous. If you're at the front, like people are kind of scared to like be up at the very front. And so it kind of gave everybody
people are
permission.
Nervous for you.
They're nervous for you.
Yeah.
They're like, damn, I don't want to see this person bomb.
Fail. Yeah. Dude, that is like probably my favorite thing about even just the concept of a live show, though, right? It's like, you guys are going to play however many dates on this tour you're about to go on. Every single one will be different. There will not be one that is exactly the same, and you will never play all of those songs in the exact same fashion ever again.
Right.
That is the coolest fucking thing to me, dude. Like, that only exists in the live side of things, and that's why I think I'm like so passionate about it, and it excites me so much. The very first show that we ever threw when I was like 18, it was like it was so stressful to like get that show together. We sold out, like almost sold out the first show we ever did.
Oh wow!
And I was so happy.
Was that
about
out here?
It. No, I was in the Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, in San Francisco at a venue called Brick and Mortar.
Dope.
But so like it went amazingly. Soundcheck went great. The run of show was going just as planned. And then halfway through the first set, half of the power goes out in the city of San Francisco, and that was like such a big moment for me where I was like, damn, like it was the biggest thing I had ever done. And like my parents were there, and like. But it was just,
at the time.
It was very like, it was very demoralizing because it wasn't in my control at all, and I did everything right, but a Tesla hit a transformer, and it happened.
A Tesla?
Yeah, Tesla hit a transformer, and then like the whole Mission District, all the power went out.
That's
Holy
crazy.
shit.
Yeah.
Wait, so what did y'all do?
We just rescheduled the show. Like I just had to go on stage with the guy from the venue. We're like, oh, like we're pushing to this date. Like, but anyway, like it, you know, we did the rescheduled date, and it was like a dream. But like the rescheduled date felt so special because of what had happened before. We marketed the whole the second date. We marketed it as like a us versus PG&E thing, and it was just like, it's like that moment will only ever exist in that time period, which I think is just the coolest thing ever.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, it's like the same kind of shit with like my computer dying.
Yeah.
And now that was like, that's like that will never happen again probably.
Yeah.
But it's like it gives an interesting like different lens on that show.
And it makes it more memorable for anyone who's there.
And only those folks in that crowd or they're the only ones that ever will be able to share that experience with you.
Exactly.
Did you guys go to school for music, or were you in college for something else?
I majored in music business.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I was a marketing major. I was a music industry major for a semester, and then I just like got a marketing.
Gotcha. So I was a music industry major too before I dropped out.
Yeah.
Did you guys feel like that experience helped you in your musical journey? Are you thankful for it? Do you feel like if you had to do it again, would you still do it?
I think it was great being around that program because I think you just meet like like-minded people, you know? And like we didn't really even we didn't make music at all before college. Yeah. And so just going to a program like that, and there's, you know, so many people in bands making beats, throwing shows. And just being like, oh, like you can do this. Like I didn't know you could just do this.
Yeah.
And
that used to blow my mind. If there was like somebody who made a song like from scratch. Like they had like y'all had like a DAW or what? I didn't even know what a DAW was. But I was like, y'all made a song, like you wrote it, you made this beat, like that was inconceivable to me. So the fact like getting to college and seeing so many people who were doing that, it was just like, that's crazy. I guess I could do that. Like, maybe.
So I think it was valuable from that perspective. I think music business as like a college curriculum is kind of hard to crack. A little bit.
It changes every 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think it was, I mean, I wouldn't take it back for sure.
I imagine just like going out into the world like that without ever really being around like organized music in your life kind of changes your whole perception of it.
For sure.
It's so weird, like when you look at something from the outside, or thinking it's so much more complicated than it really is when you start to do it.
Totally. Like that's like everything. Right?
Yeah, right? Like it's so weird when you start to acknowledge like I can do that. Like I can be that person.
Yeah.
That's how I felt before I ever threw a show. Like I grew up going to shows, and in my head I was like, this has to be the hardest thing ever. And then I did it and I was like, oh, it's just like a series of phone calls and emails. Yeah, like you can be the person, which is such a weird thing to wrap your head around.
Right. And that everyone that you respect was at one point in the exact same position that you were in. You know what I mean? And like it's just a series of very small decisions over time can like change the entire scope of your life. It's interesting.
It's some weird butterfly effect shit. Where it's like, if I didn't figure out this one thing at this one time, where would my life be? You know? Do you guys feel like you ever hit like a turning point? Like, what do you think the biggest turning point musically for you has been throughout your career? Was there a point you hit something, or you did something, or even you made something and you were like, oh, everything is different after this?
There's a rabbit outside. That was crazy.
Oh, whoa.
Just
I
like
I saw that.
That's a rabbit.
I saw that on
we have 2 rabbits in our front bush that we call Max and Ruby. They just had a kid.
Damn.
Shout out to Max and Ruby. Congrats. Huge congrats. It's the cutest little baby bunny, bro.
I can't imagine.
Small.
It's only one? Aren't they supposed to have like hella?
I've only seen one.
babies?
Maybe I've seen a different one every time. I don't know.
That's so true.
But I've only seen one at a time. So who knows?
But I would say turning point. I feel like low key when we like kind of opened ourselves up to do the writing and producing thing, and like just like kind of crossing that bridge of being like, okay, like I am insecure. Like I think I am, you know what I mean? Like I have like, I don't think I'm like as good at music as like other people. And then being like, but anyway, like I'm going to go in a room with people I've never met and like try and make a song with them. And like a beat's going to be playing and there's going to be a moment where I have to like come up with a melody and like sing this in front of these people. You know what I mean? Or
like giving them the service they're here for.
Exactly. And like, but just that, like if you've never done it, like it feels like performing.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I would imagine.
And like just
freak me out,
like getting over that and being like because we had like made a pitch demo with like a couple of friends like a few years ago, and our current manager, this guy named Dan Behrman, heard it because he managed one of our friends, and he was just like, oh, like it's really cool that you guys like write and produce. Like I think y'all would really kill it in this world. Like would y'all want to do sessions? And I was like, you know,
I guess.
Really. Not really. Like, and just like, like, I think just always having like, just being insecure and having like that like mindset of like, I'm not this kind of like, I'm not like this kind of person. You know what I mean? And just kind of like unlearning that and really realizing like,
maybe I am.
Like, and like
we all can be.
Exactly. That it's like over time, like, who you are is so malleable and like
more malleable than you think.
And like you can really at any point be like decide like I am this and start working towards it. And like I would like talk to one of my friends who's like killed it as a producer, and I'd be like, but like, you know, I'm just like, I'm not like y'all, man. I'm not like a session killer. I can't just like go in and do it. And he's just like, you literally can do that. Like, you literally have. And like and just kind of like learning like even if you're like scared or uncomfortable to do something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You know
Hell
what I mean? And like that means you probably should do it. Like even when Austin asked us to do this tour, it was like we hadn't done artist shit in like 2 years.
Wow.
Or we had just dropped Blue Moon, I think.
We had just dropped Blue Moon. Which is a song we put out in May. But we hadn't done artist shit in like 2 years really. And he was just like, oh yeah, do y'all want to open for me and like be in my band? And I was just
it's a huge ask.
Like, I don't know, man. And then, we were just kind of like, I feel like we should just say yes and just like do it and figure it out. Because like I've never played in anyone else's band. I'm not like a real guitar player. And like, but just kind of like doing it and figuring it out. And I think those are the kind of experiences that help you grow the most.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
And so I feel like, like that turning point of like getting our current manager and him pushing us into these different rooms that we never would have been in otherwise, and like embracing it and being like, okay, like fuck it, we're doing this, you know what I mean? And like really just kind of like leaning headfirst into it, like really changed the way I thought about like myself and my relationship to music.
Wow.
Because it can be really isolating to be an artist.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of artists go through a lot of time because it's fully dependent on you. Every decision you make, like everything you do, like you said, reflects on your brand and all this shit, and that can be like stifling.
But your brand is like inseparable from you, kind of.
Crazy.
It's
like
it's
life
a weird
thing.
Like outwardly, people are like, "This is who you are." So if you put some shit out, and it's like people think it's whack. They're like, "Damn," or you think of it as like, "Damn." I guess they think I'm whack.
Yeah.
If this song is whack or whatever.
Like you never know where to draw the lines, kind of.
Yeah. And so it was really nice to just be like, there's all these different ways to make music, and like I can come in and just write, or I can come in and like just produce, or like produce with someone else. And so to me that was the turning point, was meeting our manager and like opening up and like just believing in myself enough to like to even try to do that, you know?
Yeah, that's huge, dude. I interviewed a rapper from the Bay Area named Lou one time, and he said something like really, really stuck with me. He said, when I was interviewing him, he said, I remember the moment when I realized I was who I thought I was. And that I think about all the time. I think like the only thing that separates you from who you think you are is your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's the only thing that's in the middle between you and like where you want to be and who you want to be.
Totally.
My one of my roommates, his name's Monet, he had this song that's called Lone Star, and like I was a fan of the song before I ever met him, and he has this lyric in the song, and the song is the lyric is, I'm not who I want to be, I'm not who I want to be. And before I ever met him, I had misheard the lyric, kind of like Suki misheard your guys' lyric. Right. but like I'd misheard.
More unfortunate mistake.
Yeah, more unfortunate mistake. But like I thought the lyric was, I'm not who I want to be, but I'm who I want to be. And I kind of took that in that similar way to what you were just describing, because I always took it like, you can be like, you can in your mind not be the person that you want to be, but if you are attempting to get there every single day, like you're literally there.
Right.
Like you've done it.
Right.
Just keep doing it.
Right.
And I think that's a thing too, is like a lot of people get caught up in this almost like picturesque like version of themselves.
Yeah.
Like they think they have to be them at like an S tier, right? And that has to happen like tomorrow.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of steps in between there, and I think if you get too hyper fixated on all of those moments, they'll just never happen.
Totally.
Like you just gotta go, throw yourself into shit, and like you're smart, you'll figure it out. You know?
Yeah, and I think too, especially in creative things, just like you kind of have to get over yourself. And just be like, at some stage, like this is always going to be embarrassing, because like even if you're like the biggest like shit popping in the world, like there are people who are going to hate what you do, are going to hate you.
Always,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just kind of getting over it and being like, cool, I'm just going to do what I do, and like there might be friends who think this shit sucks. And like that's okay. You know? And just like embracing, because eventually it's not really going to matter, and you're just like doing your thing and living your life on your terms, and then you're like, I don't know. It's interesting.
It's kind of like for better or for worse, accepting it. Like accepting the fact that you can't control people's perceptions of you is, I think, a superpower, dude.
Totally.
But it's so hard. It's
very
so
hard.
difficult to get to that place where you're like, they're going to think what they think of me, and that is what it is. Whatever. But it's such a difficult thing. But I think when you can get there, it's like, damn, it's a superpower, bro. That's really cool that you guys, because this is like preceding a question I'm going to ask, but I think it's really cool that you were in the artist world more so, and then went more into the publishing world. Now you're kind of getting back into the artist world. I think that's a really, really cool arc. And I think there's a lot of musicians that I think are really, really great that have done similar things. Somebody I think about a lot, this guy Slim Dan, who was like in the writing world for years and years and years and doing all that. And then he kind of just pivoted and went full into the artist thing. And I think you approach it with such a different perspective.
For sure.
Like you're almost like, working with songwriters at that point is like you've been there, so you get it.
Totally.
Do you guys kind of, when you're working on your own stuff now, are you working with people in the same capacity that like you were as a songwriter? Dude. Or is it just kind of you guys in the room figuring it out?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is like the songs that we're like about to put out now are like 3 years old. Mm-hmm. Like some of them we started in like 2020.
Yeah.
And just like, so they're kind of from like the past era, and like we haven't like fully like embraced like, okay, let's do like sessions for our stuff.
Yeah.
And like,
well, I guess Blue Moon was the first song where we went in, like we made that with like 2 other producers. And that was like the first time that we were in a session and doing stuff, and kind of like without agenda, we were kind of just like, okay, maybe this could be for this person, like I don't know, like this, I don't really know what this would be for. And then our manager was kind of like, this could be for you guys. Yeah. I was like, what? You know? And I think that was kind of like a freeing moment, because that was like the first, like one of the first proper times that we've had like anybody else co-produce on something. And it was literally the first time we've like been in a, well, I guess aside from On Me with Dejan, but like making something in the room with somebody that then like became our song.
Yeah.
And I think I've been working on some things this year that have like, still it's just me by myself in my room, and like trying to figure it out in that way. But I think even these songs, I think like we're gonna put out a song, literally we haven't announced it yet, but on Friday.
Oh hell yeah. Surprise drop. That's
surprise
cool.
Drop. And
why'd you guys want to do it like that?
Well, we just wanted to get it out before tour.
Hell yeah.
And like we were gonna post about it earlier today, we're just waiting on photos. But nice. And I think some of that stuff we still were trying to figure out like the best way to work in the room with each other, because I think we kind of came, it's funny, like we started making music together, but we would still kind of like make things by ourselves and then finish them together. And finishing them together sometimes would still be like one of us sitting with the other one's song and working on it, and then the other one coming in. So I feel like even like some of these songs has been the most that it's like we're in the room like writing a verse together. You know, we're in the room like producing this out together, like really doing the drums together, and like figuring out like what's the B section chords gonna be like together. And I feel like that probably helped us as we went into other rooms with other people that we had started on that a little bit. Now I think we're so much better at it now. No, I would totally imagine. And I feel like that process of just like stumbling into things is very valuable as well. Like I think like sitting in a room and just kind of like throwing shit at the wall till something sticks, there's a lot of really, really cool stuff that can come out of that. Like I think it's I would imagine it's almost more like creatively riveting to go into a room and be like, all right, let's just like see what comes out today. Opposed to go in there with that very specified agenda and be like, we're gonna write this kind of song today for this kind of artist, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And just like learning to just like trust yourself. And just going in and being like, we could do this today. Like if we hear these chords and we like these chords, we can record them. Like I don't know, just learning to like trust yourself in the process. You know what I mean?
That's huge, bro. No, that's definitely huge. I also wanted to ask about the period that you guys are kind of coming out of right now, where you were doing all that publishing work and kind of like stepped away from the artist project. Was that like a planned thing? Like, were you like, all right, we're gonna take a step back from the artist stuff, we're gonna go into the publishing world, the writing world, we're gonna do all this for a bit, and then take a step back? Were you like, I want to come back in this couple years, or when you got offered this tour, did you just stumble back into it?
I just stumbled back into it. Honestly,
Did you always want to?
Eventually, but it was definitely like we were just doing a lot of sessions and like started getting a couple cuts here and there, and like it just kind of felt like, cool, we have like momentum in this space, like let's just keep leaning into that. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I've learned so much more than I would have just like sitting in my room by myself.
What do you think are the biggest things you've learned, like that you've been able to apply to your own music that you learned from sessions? Honestly,
like it's been really helpful just seeing how people work and like learning how to mix. Because that's like one thing that is really like, when I first started doing sessions, just like leaving the first day with a song where it's like, this sounds mixed and mastered. Like it basically is. You know what I mean? At the end of day one, where like the day one bounce. Like there was like a song that I made with Lido and Dizzy Faye, this girl Dizzy Faye. And it was like on her last EP. And it was like the day one bounce is the one that they used. I think. Yeah,
that's so cool because you captured the energy of that room in that day.
Yeah, exactly. And because Lito is such a good producer, he's such a good engineer. Like he can mix, like
while he's producing
very well. Yeah, exactly. And just like learning how to like set up your projects and just like do things to like make it easier for yourself.
Yeah,
because I think that was always hard for us.
Yeah, just like not really knowing how to mix and like.
But we still mixed all of our shit because we didn't have the money or like know people who could like really do it. And then like, okay, but if you're on this budget, it's going to take you like months to mix one song because it's like, I can't put you at the top of the list. So we were just mixing all our own stuff.
Yeah. And it's like when it's so frustrating if you don't know how and you're like, dude, this doesn't sound right and I don't know why. And so like I think learning to mix better was like a huge like, milestone.
And learning how to produce like with that in mind, where it's like instead of just like add things, it's like all right, let's take a step back, like listen to what we have, like what could we probably take out, or like what could actually only happen like in this one place, and trying to be more intentional of like arrangement and like thinking of arrangement like from jump, I think is another thing where, you know, before I would maybe make like, you know, it'd be like a verse and a hook and it's like, all right, done. And now I feel like I'm more so thinking of like trying to just follow an arc, even if I change it later, but like getting some kind of like arc to something as you're doing it, where you're just feeling it out and then, you know, you're putting melodies on it or whatever, but trying to get like look down the road to some extent from the beginning.
And it's interesting because that's not even like an innately musical thing.
No,
like,
a lot of it's
not. It's like a mindset
organizational
thing.
No, I think that's what like so many like pop and just like session fluent producers are so good at is just like workflow. And like I know how my drums are organized. Like I know if I'm using bass, like I'm using this synth, I'm using this sound on this synth. Like I know how to get to the sounds that I like very quickly. Yeah. And just like seeing that and like understanding the value in that, or just like even like how people have their studios set up, where it's like cool, like wow, they have this thing, so they have all their things live at the same time. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't have
like
to plug in all these mics.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this mic is already plugged in, this synth is already live, like this guitar in is already live. Yeah. And it's already routed, like where like they open their Ableton or Logic project, and it's like, cool, here's all of those that record on, we can record it right now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's huge.
It almost like validated like my ideas or something, like going into a room like that to where you don't have to like stretch yourself thin trying to like mix and just like make it hit and stuff, and where you're trying to like figure that out and you're like, maybe I'm not a good producer, and then you go into a room where someone else can kind of like help with the sound of it, like to where they have their studio well set up and they're recording anything you do and making it sound like serviceable, like this is hitting, and then it's like, oh wait, my chords are cool, like actually the sound that I picked and the voicings that I did and then like this melody that I came up with, this is actually kind of dope, like maybe I am good at this. I guess like
it's so interesting because there's like the creative aspect of it, like your ideas, like things you're coming up with, and there's like the technical aspect of it. And I think there's really some folks I've met who are like literally geniuses in like the creative part of it. They might just not have the technical ability to put it together yet, but the cool thing is you can learn that.
Exactly.
It's kind of like that concept of like you versus the DAW, you know, like I remember with video editing when I got to this point where for like the first maybe 2 years that I was an editor, I felt like I was battling Premiere every single day trying to figure out what I was trying to do. And then I remember getting to that place where I was like, all right, if I think of something in my brain now, I know how to get there. Like I know the steps to almost everything, which is just so exciting because then you're not worrying about the technicalities of it. Like you know your hotkeys, you know where to go, you know how you're getting to these ideas, and it's almost like that pure sense of what you were talking about, like the idea to the screen.
Right, exactly.
It's more streamlined, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's been, I think, the biggest thing is like understanding the importance of that type of just like of your workflow, that it's like outside of like how musically gifted you are, how good your melodies are, like all of this like
all the other things and like being able to manage like energy in a room, because I feel like I was so bad at that just with myself, of like letting myself get like, if I thought this idea was whack, it's like I'm probably done making music for the day or something. Like I could get so in my way to then like be in a room with somebody where if like, you know, the first time we did a session and made like 3 or 4 like ideas, like 3 or 4 like pretty fleshed out ideas in one session, I was just like, how did I do that? Like, we just did that. How do you and seeing just, somebody kind of like read the room and be like, let's start something else, or like, actually, like that one chord you did was dope, like let's play off that instead, and like trying to just follow the idea of something and like not being afraid to change things, not being afraid to like throw something out or like completely start over from like the one thing you really liked in something. I think that was also very valuable. And like what you're talking about of like creating an environment in a session that's like accepting and stuff, and learning how much that helped when we were coming in first as like co-producers, and like trying to find your way in a room and understanding like, wow, this went really well because of how open this dude was to my ideas and how he recorded everything I did. And then even if we didn't use everything, it's like we were picking through it together and like really being inclusive in that way. I think that is also like top of mind, top of the list for me.
Oh, for sure, dude. I think that being that kind of producer who it's like there's no idea that you're above, and having like that just ultimate selflessness, like just like radical empathy, like allowing everybody to pitch everything and we try everything. That feels like, just in my opinion, I mean, I'm not a producer, but in my opinion, that feels like it would be the kind of the space that I'd want to curate if I was a producer,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Okay, so kind of being now back in the artist world versus being that publishing world, just to kind of go back to that for a second, I would feel like there'd probably be like a lot more pressure to like do certain things when you're in the artist world, right? Like whether it be promote yourself, play the TikTok game and stuff. When you were on the publishing end of it, was it nice to kind of get away from that pressure of like being the face of something, or did you kind of like miss it?
Yes,
really?
No, it's so nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, like the whole thing that matters, it's like, did you make something that you liked, or did you like make something that was cool?
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, now I got like this little like vault of stuff, versus like thinking. And I really like I like coming up with like album art and like videos and stuff like that, but like the whole social media of it all, I'm not like as keen on like, social media strategies, I guess. And like I mean, TikTok, I'm literally not on TikTok, like making TikToks. So I'm curious, like in this next chapter, like what's the way to do it in a way that still feels like true to myself, for sure. But it's exciting. I like the visual side. Like I really like, like in 2019, I guess, like when we started doing I guess like the blurry stuff, I was like really like, I got Premiere and Photoshop and stuff, and I was like figuring it out, and I still really like to do that. So I don't know, I'm excited to keep like growing with that, getting my hotkeys.
Get your hotkeys in, baby.
Some hotkeys in there. And just figure out ways to do it in like this new landscape, because it is different than it was like 2, 3, 4 years ago.
It's like for the first time really ever, I would say artists are required to be filmmakers,
right?
And they're required to be business owners and content
influencers.
Literally. And it's so that's like never been the thing before. And it's so weird, but I think you have the right mindset. I think you can either like embrace it or you can run from it, and if you run from it, your track might be harder. It might be easier. Maybe you just dial the live side of something, but there's a million ways to do this. But I think the more skills you can accumulate, not only, even if you never use the skills, you're learning how to learn, which I think is a huge thing. I think that goes back to what you guys were talking about, just in those sessions, being open to those ideas, learning to trust yourself. Learning how to learn something, I think, is just a gigantic skill that like the more things you're able to embrace and just say yes and learn how to do them, eventually somewhere down the line they'll matter.
And I think one thing that's great about returning to the artist side too is that like being like a musical artist is just like habitually putting yourself out there. And like even like if the numbers aren't like as crazy as you want them to be or something, it's really interesting how like if you really just come out and you like put some songs out and you're like, I think this is dope, like this is me, this is what I like, like how much like people will respond to it. You know what I mean? Even if it's not like changing your life streaming wise, like the amount of people, like when I just put out like a few songs like in the past year, just like as like a solo thing, the Parker Tate stuff, like just like the amount of people that kind of like hit me up about that, and then we're like, man, like I would love to like make some shit like off that, and it's like those songs have like no plays, but it's just like when you just kind of put yourself out there, it's interesting how people like can see that you know, and it's just
I just respond to music. Like people aren't like a fan of something because it has a lot of plays. Yeah. And like you know, you hear something, someone hears your song, and they're just like, wow, I really connect with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just and just reminding yourself, it's like, man, this is gonna do way more better. Like, this is going to do way more good. Way more better. It's going to do way more better, brother. It's going to do way more good being like in the world than like sitting on my hard drive.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
That concept too of throwing things at the world and just like hoping and praying and just like if
and
you
not
love
overthinking it either.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's just I think about it like with like Pink Panthers all the time, where like her like TikToks that she blew up off of were just like shit posting like 2 times speed, like her walking with like the song playing. Yeah. And like people were just like, I love this.
Yeah. It's even funny as we've gotten more into the, you know, production side, to where we will go into certain sessions and people will be like, oh yeah, like I know about you guys, like I knew this song.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this video is like of y'all's was like on a mood board of mine. I'm like, what?
Dude, that video has 5,000
Yeah, you
views.
didn't like I never heard from y'all, like just because people
it wasn't
aren't
even
like
on my
shouting
mood board.
You out. Yeah. Just because people aren't like, you know, shouting you out on Instagram or like, you know, posting about something doesn't mean that like it's not being heard. It's just kind of interesting, like getting more into that and seeing like put it out there and people will find it.
I think so many people are their own worst enemy. Or like
every single artist who's ever lived.
Yeah, that's true, dude. Yeah, because it's such a terrifying thing to do. Is to like literally say, here's a part of me, I'm giving it to you, do as you will.
I stand behind this. And then people are like, this sucks. I hate you.
Like, well this is me.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's like, damn, bro. I don't even like myself that much. That's
exactly. So it's like, I think it's really, really valuable to learn to just like be like, yo, you know what, this is good enough. Like there's so much with Marshall where he'll like be like, God, like, okay, should we post like this picture with this and then this? And I'm like, dude, it's fine. Just do it.
It'll
like,
do what it's gonna do.
Like it's gonna do what it's gonna do. Like we'll put another song out and it'll be fine.
There's so much value in that.
My rock.
I think it's more like oh, that was adorable.
I've been thinking about it because we're splitting like a yerba. Like we've both been drinking from this. It's just like real twin.
You guys are so cute, bro. You guys are so cute.
We split drinks. It is what it is.
It is what
same
it is,
germs,
man.
We got the same germs.
Yeah,
That's
same
science.
genes, same germs.
Same germs.
It is what it is. I think there's honestly more merit to that concept of like trying to humanize yourself than there ever has been right now. And that's I think why I resonate with the live side of things so much in like today's industry. Whereas like people are just like desperately searching for something that they feel is real, because there's a lot of like, you know, I'm not trying to be the music industry unk right now, but there's a lot of like over homogenized bullshit that like just people are just throwing out. Artists are like specifically catering things to sound a certain way, you know, in the hopes that it'll do better online. And I think people see through that incredibly fast. The analogy I always use is like, scroll TikTok, bro, and realize how quickly you realize something is an ad. It takes less than a second. Like we are we have just this like
like media literacy on TikTok is like interesting.
Nuts, right?
Where it is, it's like people can sniff if you're like putting something on. And like the shit that works is not not the manufactured thing. It's not what works as well.
Almost ever. It's
unless you're like K-pop or something.
I feel like
that's like its own thing.
Yeah, totally. It's like a whole different world, dude. I feel like people literally can sniff out like certain levels of irony or like sarcasm and like decipher how ironic you're being. It's so crazy, dude.
It is.
But it's like, and I feel I felt old recently because my brothers, like I'm in this group chat with my 2 brothers and they're both younger than me, and they'll always send like funny TikToks and shit. And they were telling me how they don't think I understand like the TikTok brain rot humor in the same way that they do, and they were calling me unk. And I was like,
unk is so overused now.
I was like, bro, I'm 22.
Not unk, man.
But
no, it's funny, man. Like I just it's really funny, especially because we just turned 30, so it's like really like when you tell like
you guys are young men.
But it's like telling when you tell people like just in certain conversations like, man, I just turned 30 this year, they're like, damn.
You guys, and I mean this in the most endearing way ever, you do not look 30. Like you guys are gonna look like 30 when you're 50. Like,
Thank you,
man. but it's interesting just kind of getting the like the perspective of that, and like, you know, I think in your 20s, like it feels like your life is kind of gonna end when you're 30.
Wow, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does. Can relate.
And like just when like the closer you get to it, the more you're just like, dude, there's so much time. Like we have so much time.
Yeah.
And like not subscribing to that mindset as much, and like being like, woe is me, like I'm getting older.
Yeah.
Like that shit is so lame to me now.
I think about it all the time of like how old was my dad? Like when was my dad my age that I am right now?
Wow.
And that was 1977.
Yeah, our dad was born. Yeah,
our dad was born in 1947.
Our dad was
so
46 when we were born.
Damn. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was like older.
Side, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I just think of that. I'm like, all right, if like me now, if that was 1977, like thinking of like how much life is ahead of it he had, and how many different lives he's lived in that time, and just thinking of my own life in that way, like that I've been, in LA for 7 years now, and that feels like it's like the longest I've lived somewhere outside of my hometown.
Wow.
Like I've lived here like post-pandemic now has been longer than pre-pandemic. It's just like everything's just like
so hard
strange
to wrap your head around.
Yeah. And it's like if you're giving up on life at 30, like damn, that fucking sucks.
Life is long,
like
there's so much life to live, bro. I really don't like the idea that like when you have kids your life is over. I actually think you're starting a second life in a cool way.
For sure.
But you're still the same person. I was thinking about this the other day actually, because I was trying to wrap my head around the fact that I've almost lived in LA for 2 years, and that's like been blowing my mind this past month.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, I'm 22 now. I moved here when I was 20, but like I'm still the 20-year-old. I just like know a little bit more now. And then I was thinking, I was like, when I was 20, I was still the 18-year-old version of me. I still, like I've learned a lot of things, and like maybe my perspectives have changed because of the way the things that I've learned, but you're still you.
Yeah.
And I think you're always you. I don't think like the fundamental core of who you are changes too much throughout
it's
your
just
life.
like maybe you get some worse habits, then you get some better habits, and then you learn some new things and forget some old things. I mean, because we were 22 when we moved here.
Oh damn.
So it's like, and like I feel so much like the same person I was then. Yeah. But also like a completely different person at the same time. And it's just funny, like sometimes when I talk to like someone who's like 21, 22, and they'll have like some certain perspective about like life or their age or something, and I'm just like, God, you don't know anything, man. Like
you have not given us that vibe at all.
You're not giving that vibe.
Thank you. But people will say something
like just
man, that is a very like 20-year-old thing to think.
Interesting. Dude, I even feel that way about things I thought when I was 20. And like when I was, I think I definitely feel that way about things I thought when I was in high school.
You've grown so much since you moved here.
Like, for sure. I think it's like forced growth. I think like moving to a new place, it like
discomfort.
It just 100%. It just like exacerbates that concept of growth. You get older so much faster. I think when you move away from home.
For sure. And I think especially when you choose to do something, like in any kind of creative industry, and you're like, okay, like we kind of hit a wall like a year into COVID where it's like, okay, so like the last few releases like have not really done anything, so like either like I'm quitting music or moving home, or we're figuring something else out, what I mean?
When we started
kind of like hitting that wall and just being like, okay, like, and even like outside of like things not performing well, just being like, I am not enjoying this anymore, and like, but then being like, but I'm gonna figure it out. And then I did. And it's so now I'm in a position that I never would have thought I'd be in. You know what I mean?
And it's so hard to decipher how much of that is realistic and how much of it is in your head. Like it's really, really difficult to think like, is there merit to my overthinking right now? It's so weird, dude. Like I've been doing this for over 6 years now. And I like realized like a year ago, I was like, damn, like I've been doing this for 6 years and I have never thought about the fucking business model. Like not once. In the past year, like I think I've just been like obsessively thinking about it and rethinking. I literally talked to Booyah on the phone about it like 2 hours, like 2 days ago. And I handsome, bro, so handsome. But it's like you don't realize the things that like what you're doing will turn into. Like I'm sure when you guys started putting out music under Mulherin, you had no idea that eventually you'd be like, primarily primarily doing publishing and doing like all that other stuff, and then like going through another arc and getting back into it. I feel the same way. Like I mean this started as like an Instagram account that I made in a movie theater, and then it's like it's 6 years removed and it's become something entirely different.
Totally.
So it's so interesting to watch the way that those stories of your life unfold, and the things that change and the things that don't, and like fully understanding that like, all right, all this external shit might change, but I'm still me. Like you're still you're
and just
person,
like keep showing up and keep like putting yourself out there and like keep trying and like failing.
Oh yeah.
But like yeah, it's just like you just never know. Like it's even with like the basketball tournament. It's like you just never know what, like if you do that again, what that could turn into, or like how that might leverage other opportunities, or just like a whole different side of things where it's like, oh, I actually like doing events. Like, man, we could do these kinds of events, and then that could become like one of our friends.
You read my mind. That's funny.
Yeah. No, like one of our friends, his name's Free, and he's like a DJ.
Cool.
But he's kind of just like been in LA for a minute and like kind of just done different things, but like mainly made his living as a DJ. And a couple of years ago, he had this idea called the Record Club, where like you go and he like rents a cool space, and they'll have like drinks or like some kind of like free thing that you get, and then you like sit down and listen to an album from front to back.
Wow.
And he'll kind of like talk about it and be like, give context about it, and like talk about.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And he's turned it, he's done them, like he's done like
a bunch
15 in LA or something. He's done one in New York.
Wow.
And it's like a whole new chapter of his life now, and that he just kind of did on a whim, and it just ended up working.
I think it's so important to embrace those too.
Yeah.
So I think it's so easy to not embrace. Shout out to Free.
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to not embrace those.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to fight the change. Like,
yeah, because like there's so many, you could so easily just like think of that and be like, that's kind of a dumb idea, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
And like that's a knee-jerk reaction for so many things, and like just fighting it and just being like, I'm just going to try it anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that might be one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this past year is rethink everything always.
Yeah.
Like just every single second of every single day, be like reconsidering, is this the right move? Am I doing this correctly? Should it be like this? Should it be like that? It's like, I think the worst thing you can do is stay static and then like just beat something into the ground that isn't working. And not say that you should give up. But just to say that you should change course. You should figure out like the way around the wall that you're trying to hit at. And I think when I quit my job, that was a big moment for that, because I think before I had so much limited time to put into my creative endeavors that I was just ramming my head into a wall, and I was hoping that I was ramming it harder than anybody else. And then I think when I was able to, and lucky enough to do this full time, I got to this place where I could like actually creatively think of solutions to the problems, opposed to just like being like, all right, let me just keep punching it out. Grind it out.
No, it's interesting, man. There's so many ways to skin the cat.
If you could look back at like 22-year-old you guys, or like 21 or 20-year-old, what advice would you give them? Like, what do you think? Or even just another like person that's younger than you in the industry, what advice would you give them?
I would say like definitely like be
post
open.
on TikTok, dude.
Post
develop
3
a post.
TikTok today.
Post 3 a day.
Develop a brand.
Pitch the playlist.
Get ready with me.
Develop a brand.
No, I think like just being open and just sharing, like not being afraid to share things, not being afraid to like I don't know, it's just like just keep going.
Just
like,
keep doing it like day to day, keep doing it. Don't let yourself get too bogged down by like what you think, because I think
should be doing,
what you think should be
what
doing,
your music should sound like, or what your shit should look like. Just do something.
Go in the day to day and do it. Like everyone looks back at their old shit and they're like, I can't believe I put that out. Like it's gonna happen. Like when like now I'm 30 and looking back on the stuff that we released when we were 23, I'm like, there's cool stuff about it. Like I'm thinking it's cool. It's like I wouldn't make that now, obviously. But like I can still be like, that's dope though. Like cool. And like just trying to like have peace with like, all right, day to day I'm making this, and just like finish it and put stuff out. And just
maybe don't work on an album for 4 years. You know what I mean?
Do you guys do that?
I mean we've sat on some of these singles for like 4 years. And like and there's just like I'm stoked to put them out, but I'm like, man, it would have been cool if it kind of came out around that time.
Does that feel strange? Because like those were written when you guys were 26 and you're 30 now, and there's like totally different people, I'm sure. Like, is it weird hearing those stories back to yourself? It's almost like 26-year-old you guys talking to 30-year-old you guys, and you're like, oh, like that. Does it feel weird?
It kind of does, but I still like I still like the songs, and like it feels like a representation of like that time in my life, so I'm like still down.
And I think some of them we also kind of like over time it would be like we'd be sitting with them and be like, the second verse could be better, or like we should change like the production. So like I think the songs now are better versions of them than they were. But that's always the thing where it's like if you keep sitting on it, it's gonna be different. Like how much different or better over time. It's like finish something in like that span probably and put it out.
Yeah.
But I'm not regretful at this point. It's like they're better than they were, and they'll come out in this state, and like I'm hyped for them to like not just be on my computer.
Yeah, for sure.
No, yeah, I would just say like just go like do this. Don't do this. You know what I mean? Like be like, if you have friends that like inspire you, or people around you that inspire you, like hit them up and be like, man, like I really love this thing that you do, and like figure out just like, it's just like connecting with people, and like just always like reach out and like create things with people. Don't be afraid to like do the thing that scares you. In fact, like continually probably do that. Not to get like too self-helpy about it.
No, I think it's true though.
And just I think there's just embrace that like there's a lot you don't know, but you can do a lot yourself, and just like keep doing that. You know
Looking
what I mean?
fear in the face, I think, is one of the most pivotal moments that you can have to grow. I think it's actually really hard to grow without embracing things that scare you.
For sure.
I think in that situation you kind of just stay stagnant. And,
for sure,
and I think when I was, like I said, like I've been doing this since I was 16, and like I had such like a one-tracked vision of what I wanted it to be when I was like 16 through 18, and I think I had to break down those barriers to put my pride aside and understand like, okay, maybe it's this, and that's just as cool. Or maybe it's this, and that's just as cool. But it's like, I think I totally see what you're saying, and it's like just embracing things as they come, and like never shutting yourself off to one experience.
Like don't, because I think that's the only thing that'll like stop you, is like when you like retreat into yourself, and like don't let like your insecurity like stop you from like living a fulfilling creative life. You know what I mean? And like doing shit that might be embarrassing or feel embarrassing at the time. It's just like, just do it. Like you're gonna be way more regretful of like not doing it than if you did it and failed. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's just like always put yourself out there, like keep sharing and like involving other people, and like, you know what I mean?
It's also never as embarrassing as you think it is. Like something could feel like the worst thing, because you know, like when that laptop story you guys told, like I'm sure in the moment that felt like the worst thing imaginable, but I'm sure everybody in that room was having such a good time.
It ended up being the best show because of that, because it was like, you just play it off. Now we have time to kill. We just got to talk to the crowd. Like, and it just, now that becomes so much more memorable.
It's like, give them a memory. Me and Mario saw Bakar play before the last Coachella. They do those like Coachella warm-up shows or whatever. He's playing at where was he playing? What's that? The Novo, and
nice room. I like that spot.
Such a cool
super
room,
nice,
bro. So sick. But like halfway through the set, he just kind of stopped playing and like brought his laptop, or I think his phone. He brought his phone down to like this like little like DJ booth that like wasn't even on stage. It was like on the second level, and he was just like, can I play you guys like some unreleased shit? And he just like played a bunch of demos off his phone just to like see how folks reacted.
That's dope.
And that was such like an ingrained memory in my brain. And it's like, I think
cool.
Like embracing things like that, I think is so cool. Like the individuality of every single show.
No, it's interesting. Like I think there's so much things where people think like, oh, you have to do it like this in music, and and just like on the internet, like even like with like making content, like I think you can just do the thing that you want to do more than you think you can. Like where it's just like, if you think it's cool, other people will also probably think it's cool, like now more than ever. It's interesting, man. Like I just read this thing about like Charlie XCX when like before she did like the Brat album, that she sent her label like a 30-page document about being like, this is what I will do and this is what I won't do.
Interesting.
And like, I'm gonna give you an album that like doesn't have radio hits and is not, maybe won't stream well or blah blah blah, but I think that because she approached it like that,
changed her life.
And like it's, you know, it's connecting.
She created Brat Summer in that document.
Just that she was doing it. She was doing it. She was just doing it from such like an unmitigated place of like, this is what I want to do, and I think now more than ever that like can translate. Dude,
I despise people in the music industry who act like there's one way to do this shit. There is not one way to do anything in music or any art or really anything. But like, I fucking hate like you gotta post this many times on TikTok at these times and for these reasons with these keywords,
with these trends, these hashtags.
It's like, bro, if people think it's cool, it will do well. Like that is just the base level of it.
Right.
Like all you should be trying to do is make something that you're like, this will engage people.
Right.
I think if you focus on that, that's the only, you know, and you learn how to do that more and more and more throughout your career, but that should be the dying hill.
Yeah.
It's like just make shit that you think is cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Talking about like where you guys grew up in Memphis.
Yeah.
This is Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Was there a lot of music around you as you grew up? Like, were your parents involved in music or anything like that? How did you first kind of stumble into the place where you felt like this was something you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, our dad like was a trumpet player.
Cool.
And our mom was just like a huge music fan.
Yeah.
And like just like exposed us to a lot of different music and just played a lot of different kinds of music in the car and stuff. And then like we were like band kids, we were like on the drum line and stuff, and like really obsessed with that. But I think they both always just like empowered us a lot. And like, and my dad would always just be like, when we like started like playing drums in middle school, but like we could like kind of sing, he was just like, I think y'all could write songs. Like, for sure.
So cool.
Y'all could for sure make songs. Y'all could be producers.
Yeah.
Like I think y'all could score movies. Like he would just like say shit, and I was just like, what are you talking about?
What are you on, Dad?
But yeah, like, but I think that really, like subconsciously, just like over the years, like I felt very empowered to be a musician. Yeah.
That is fantastic parenting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for it now.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I think that
mom too, just very like, you know, here's a guitar, like here's like we have piano, and like just showing us all these different kinds of music growing up, that I feel like she shaped our taste so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, that's like I think one of the best things you can tell a kid.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
you can do anything.
Yeah.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and like even now, like I'll send, like if we were like, oh yeah, we had a session with this girl and like we made this song, and like we'll like send it to her, and she'll be like, God, like this is amazing. I can't believe like y'all made this in y'all's little apartment. Like, God, that's crazy. Like, yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny like seeing the difference in like perspective from like one generation to the other musically. I played my mom this one song from an artist we've been working with and helping develop and like do some of his rollouts, and he it's like a rap song, but in the second verse he like pitches down his vocals, so he's like a couple octaves lower, and my mom just couldn't wrap her head around the fact that was possible. Like she was like, oh, who is that? And I'm like, oh, that same guy. And she's like, how? And I'm like, oh, like just, you know, production, he pitches vocals down, and she's like, but how does he sound like that? like she just like does, it's so cute, like she just like doesn't understand it. And it's so funny to think about, like kind of goes back to that media literacy thing, right? Even the way that we think about music and technology right now is just so vastly different than what our parents could even comprehend.
Yeah, like how quick like people on TikTok, you can like sniff out something that's AI, or like something that's not real, or like a fake. You know, like people will do like someone at a show. I can't remember. There's like a meme now where it's like the Marias coming out to like a King Carson song. I don't know if you've seen that.
That's hella funny, no.
And like, but like they've like dubbed like the sound from a King Carson show over the Marias like so thing, but it looks real. But like you can tell that it's not. But you could show that to a lot of people and they would think it's real probably.
Like, how do they sound like that?
Yeah, exactly. But just like how
are they
all
so
these,
opium?
Yeah, right.
Or even like your mom being like, how did they do that? I just like early on being aware of like music production at all, and like listening to Stevie Wonder as a kid, and my mom being like, oh yeah, that's him, like on all the drums, like he played the drums and then he like sang all the backgrounds. I was just like, wait. There's like 5 voices. How is he singing all at once? Like just like it's interesting. Like I feel like as information obviously becomes like more and more available, people are so much more aware of like what overdubbing is. But like as a kid, I was just like, overdubbing.
Like,
technology's incredible.
Like how does that work?
It blew my mind.
It's like imagine showing like our parents. Like, do you remember in like 2017 in the whole SoundCloud era when like internet money first blew up and Nick Muir and those guys were doing like those 3-minute cook-up sessions where they would just open FL.
Nick Muir makes fire beat while eating pancakes.
Or like Taz Taylor makes fire FL Studio E into your type beat in 4 minutes. Like imagine like explaining to your parents that like, oh yeah, like
imagine showing this to a Victorian child.
Imagine showing internet money to a Victorian child. Like, how'd he do that in 4 minutes?
Or it's like the like brain rot TikTok shit. Yeah, it's just like explaining the levels, like how many references deep this is.
And, dude, like that's what I mean though. Some of that shit, like I don't even get.
Oh
so,
yeah.
Like, imagine showing that
just like
to my
nonsense,
parents.
dude.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
I think some of the allure is just the fact that like it doesn't make any sense. It's not supposed to make any sense.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Did you guys like grow up in any kind of music scene in Memphis? Was there like
no,
not at all? Did you only like kind of get around people like that in college?
For sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, there were definitely kids in high school and stuff who like rapped. There were like a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like kids who were in choir and stuff, and we were like band kids, so it was like that was like the music to us, and like we would sing with our friends kind of like in the stands at like football games.
Yeah,
but
like a joke.
As a joke, but it's like aside from that, I wasn't like going to shows in high school like that for real.
Yeah, people aren't coming to Memphis often on tours.
Yeah.
For sure.
What's the big city in Tennessee that?
Nashville.
Oh,
yeah.
That was a dumbass question. Stupid ass question.
But no, there was a few, like there was this kid like when we were in high school and he went to our school and he made this song called The Paper Chase, and it had like a dance and it was like a huge like regional hit. This is when there were still like regional hits.
Okay, yeah.
And
it was
like
such a thing.
And it was like such a thing in Memphis. But yeah, like we weren't like, and there was like a couple of kids at our school that like made songs kind of, or maybe actually there's a kid that we went to high school with who like made beats in high school, and he's like a rap producer now. He goes by Hit Kid.
Kid.
Yeah, he made
like
a bunch of Glorilla stuff.
Oh, nice.
Like I'm F-R-E-E. Yeah, he like made that.
Oh,
he's
sick.
done like a bunch of like Meg the Stallion and like other shit now. He did like the last ASAP Rocky song. Like
cool.
But he was just like
he's
on
like
the
killed
football
it.
team in high school, and he would like come in the band room and like fuck around.
That's sick.
But he's like killing it. So I guess but it's like.
But it wasn't like a scene.
It wasn't like
we were all like, dude, we're all making beats together, right?
Yeah. But
dude, it's so cool to see those kids in high school that like didn't really have a lot going on back then, but then they developed into something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There's this there's this kid named Jojo I went to high school with, and he like made music back then. He was like a producer, and like I came across Instagram like a couple months ago and realized like, oh, this guy's working with like Neff the Pharaoh now, and like working with like Pilo, and I'm like, damn, like you were like in my like high school weights class, just like this kid was like chronically like listening to music, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. He just didn't talk to anybody and was just like locked in his fucking headphones bumping music and wouldn't talk to anyone. I was like, that kid seems so cool.
Yeah.
But I never had the courage to go up to him, and then like he like shot me a DM like a couple months ago, and I was like, oh my god, like you're like doing dope shit now. Which is so cool to see, man.
Yeah. No, it's really like a great reminder of like there's so much life after high school and college, and then even just continuing like
Do you guys still talk to any of the people you went to high school with?
Some, yeah. Keep up, and like I think Christmas we'll see folks.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we don't go home. We go home like probably twice a year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like 2, maybe 3 on a busy year, but yeah, man.
When you eventually started like making music like seriously when you guys were in college, was it always Mulherin, or was it like a Parker Marshall thing at first, or was it always just like we're gonna make music as brothers and that's gonna be the thing, or when did that kind of come to the fold?
Yeah, it was kind of like I took a songwriting class the second semester of freshman year, and like just kind of started messing with it and like had to make songs for that class. And then like 6 months after that, we were kind of like...
It was in the summer, really.
Yeah, the summer after that, we literally could do it together.
On a family vacation, and we like took a walk down the beach.
That's so
we were
cool.
like, listen, man, I want to be a part of what you got going on. I see you're building something
We should
crazy.
link and build, no. We should get coffee sometime.
Yeah, right.
Listen, like, I'll have my people. No, but I feel like, I had done like some stuff before that of like, I think the summer after senior year, I like was in GarageBand. Like I made some acapella covers of some Frank Ocean songs, where I was like stacking my voice like 12 times. I was like, this is it.
Some Jacob Collier shit.
Yeah, man. And I thought that was like the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
So there was definitely, I feel like there was like a logical progression. It wasn't just like me being like, yo, like, hey, can I join?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that. So it was like we were kind of had both, toyed with it, and had gotten like an old mic from like our godfather, this like old ass electro voice mic that we like had and could like mess around with. We got like a that interface that was literally like the size of an XLR cable that you just plug in, and then
it was like, and it went to USB. Yeah.
A USB interface.
It
was so funny
shit.
too when you first start making music, and you're just like, dude, this shit sounds good. Like, why would I need anyone to mix it?
Yeah.
And you listen back, and it's like,
Bro.
this is like not. I can't make sense of what's going on.
Yeah, dude, that's like so cool, man. There's so many like brothers that are in bands together.
Yeah.
But I don't know any other just like twins that just like do it together. I think that's the coolest shit ever.
No,
bro.
it's great.
Thanks,
like,
man.
and it's just even like that. We like when we were in high school and like. We like were on the drum line together, and we would like practice together.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. And
just
like
this morning we were playing snare. We were like learning this snare break. We had like sheet music up. We were like learning it, trying to like get it up to.
Do you guys ever feel like when you're on stage, like you just know each other's musical tendencies? Like if there's something where you go into a section that you maybe didn't previously plan, or you play a different progression or something, do you ever go somewhere like, oh, like I know where Marshall's gonna go, I know where Parker's gonna go?
I
guess live you kind of have it planned out a little more.
Yeah, we're not like I'm not like jazz like the subdominant, right?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I'm not like
Give him the
take it
look.
there.
yeah, no.
Take it there.
I'm not like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like very good at like reading each other's vibe and being like, I'm gonna let him talk. Like, I'm gonna let him do like some.
Nice.
He's in a good spot. Like, and you know, being able to kind of feel out. You know whose voice feels good. It's like, yeah, he's singing. I'm gonna let him like. I'm gonna lay out and like not do a harmony on this and like let him do that.
Yeah,
like that kind of stuff, definitely.
That's beautiful, bro. Yeah, that's so cool, man. From the outside watching that,
it's really dope. It's like especially going into the session thing. Not having to do that alone is cool because I could see that being kind of a weird experience if you're like pulling up to like some dude's house alone. And like going in and meeting this dude and this artist alone, and like we can kind of come in and it's like we're already like brothers, and we can just kind of like make it's like cool. Like instead of there just being two of us, now there's three of us, and two of them are brothers. So
that's
it's like
so
it makes
cool.
it very easy to like make a room feel good.
Hell yeah, dude, that's so true. Actually, I feel that because I have a brother that's just like almost exactly younger than me. He's a year and 4 days younger than me.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, my mom was really pregnant for like 2 years straight.
Putting in work.
Yeah, she put in work, bro. It's crazy. But like that's how I felt with my friends and his friends in high school. I think like my friends were always also friends with my brother, and his friends were also always friends with me. Yeah, and it was really cool because it was never like a point. We were so close in age, like 1 year. Yeah, there was never a point where it was like there's a lot of lived experience that we haven't shared. Like we pretty much have done the same shit. Right. So it's always the coolest thing, and I relate to that. Like the concept of like. It'd be way weirder if I was just with this person alone, but I'm here with my brother, and like I know what he's gonna say before he says it, and all that, you know.
Yeah, it's like I think, you know, and people will kind of look at you sideways when it's like, God, like y'all don't want to like do your own thing, and like, and I think you know it's like there's probably merit. Yeah, it's like we are too, but it's like, man, there's something really dope about like having this experience, and like we just like signed publishing deals, and like, you know, we're like. Going through this whole new chapter of life together and kind of like having someone to like bounce all of it off.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Where like you walk out of where you like walk out of a session and you can be like, that was dope. Or like, man, that wasn't great.
Yeah.
But like, fuck
breaking down why, like what, like how do you feel right now? Like how do you feel about that? And like what things did you like about it and what didn't you like, and being able to kind of debrief from everything is so valuable. And I think we've gotten better at that as we've gotten older. I feel like like our relationship has like improved, and we've just gotten like, I don't know, it's a different type of like emotional intelligence being a twin, and like being like maybe overly like emotionally very very sensitive to other people, and like learning like the good and bad of that, and learning like, okay, like how to give other people space in certain times, and how to like try and be there for people, and like really seeing like the positive of like how we've learned that through like sharing our lives in this way.
That's a beautiful thing, bro. That's really, really cool.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's
I
like
appreciate it more as I get older.
It's just so cool to watch, like from the outside, and your guys' relationship and the strength of it's so apparent. Just the way you talk about each other, and just it's so cool to me, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, of course. All right, last thing I wanted to ask you, and you guys can go collectively, or if you want to go one too. But if you had like one message that you could spread through your music that you hope listeners would get, what would that message be? Like one thing you'd want to translate.
be yourself.
Work hard.
Yeah, work hard.
Those 3 TikToks a day.
Yeah, right. Smoke the loudest.
Yeah, smoke the loudest pack.
The loudest pack. No, I feel like, yeah, like, I don't know if I'm like a message artist where I'm like, I'm trying to promote well-being and like fucking but just
I think just trying to be self-aware and trying to like address things that are going on in your life and like talk through them, like, because this music shit's really my therapy for real. No, I'm joking, but I think there is a lot of value in like taking stock. I think that's the good thing about like making music when you're like really, really trying to get at it, is like you're just taking stock of how you feel about something. And it doesn't have to be through music that you do that. Like that when we leave places or like interactions, we can like debrief together and be like, how did that make us feel? Like, what did we like? Or like, and just trying to do that in anything that you're doing, whether it's music or if it's like a podcast. That's like what's great about like long form stuff like this. You can really talk about it. I think just like self-awareness and like addressing like who you are, not addressing who you are, but you know what I'm saying, like trying to just be in contact with that,
knowing yourself.
Yeah being true to yourself.
That's huge.
Sure.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Mulherin.
Above the bridge.
Thank you guys very much. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you for having us.
Of course, dude. Always.
The
You gotta do it
first time
again.
we did a podcast, we low-key like paid to be on it, I guess.
What?
The last one, I mean, because we paid Christina to do PR, and she's
right.
You didn't tell them that you paid me?
Right, yeah, my bad.
Like 30 bands.
Well spent.
Yeah, well, hopefully this one was enjoyable.
Absolutely.
So great, man.
Thank you guys.
See you on the court next time.
What was that?
See you on the court next
Dude,
time.
I know.
We need the new
Maybe
tournament.
I'll join you guys. Maybe we'll be a team of 3.
That'd be a fire 3. Yeah.
Fun, bro. We could hoop. Do you guys hoop regularly?
Yeah.
I'm like once a week.
So yeah, same. We should play. I'll add you.
We should definitely play.
I just made this huge group chat of a bunch of people in music that play basketball. I'll add you guys
to
it. Yeah,
for sure.
Tell them you got music coming out, a tour coming out. Tell them where they can stream it, or they can take it to the tour. All that stuff.
Yeah, we're dropping a song Friday. What is that? August 30th.
This coming
30th.
And then whenever the other ones come out, relearning to be artists. We probably should have dropped this before, but
check the notebook.
Yeah. So there's going to be some singles. There's going to be Paper and Plastic 2, 2 years.
2 years in the
2
making.
years after.
Tour.
Yeah, touring with Austin.
Starting September 5th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, September 5th to the LA show is this 17th. Yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
The slowest plug of all time.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
we made it through it.
Yeah.
Mulherin, thank you guys very much.
Thank you for having us, man.
Of course. Music matters.